Hi, you guys. My name is Shayla, and this is Chosen Love. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing in life right now, God chose to love you throughout your circumstances. Today, we're going to talk about soul ties. Soul ties keep us bound in so many ways, and we're going to talk about those. I'm also going to share with you guys how I overcame soul ties in my life. Today is very special for me. I am honored and I am thankful that God put it in my spirit to do this. Please bear with me. I am very soft spoken. This is my voice and I can do nothing about it. So please bear with me. You guys, soul ties has a lot to do with sexual expression. And sexual expression is everywhere. It's in movies, it's in music, it's in conversations, it's on social media, and that's where the problem comes in at. It's simply everywhere. And we got to get to the bottom of it. I wrote some of my things down. So please bear with me. I'm going to start with insanity. Insanity is also tied to sexual expression, which ties to soul ties. So I'm going to read a little bit of what I wrote, and I need for you to listen, and then we're going to talk about it. So, many people say the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. The true definition of insanity for a believer like myself is knowing exactly what God has commanded you to do or not to do and still do what you want to do. Today, it seems that sex is everywhere. The less clothes you have on, the more people flock to you. And it's popular now. You have to either be at the club or you have to be the lit girl or in the it crowd to be noticed nowadays. And that's simply what it is nowadays. When you're more on the spiritual side, you're not as popular, and that's okay. The more sex, the most sexual you portray yourself to be, the more popular you become. This is deep for me. I went through a phase where I equated sex to love. I didn't know the difference between the two. I thought that sex was being in love. I felt that if someone wanted to have sex with me, then they loved me. I would give myself away to people, and I felt like it was okay because I knew them or we were friends at first, something like that. Nothing I was doing honored God in any way, and I knew it. After a short worthless session where friends were first in my life, nothing I was doing honored God in any way, and I knew that. After a short worthless session of sexual sin, I always felt convicted. I always felt bad afterwards. I would lie to myself and make myself believe that if I went to church on Sundays and went to Bible study on Wednesdays, then a little sex every now and then really didn't hurt. It didn't matter. God would still forgive me. But that was the furthest things. It was far from the truth. And at the time I didn't care. I was filthy on the inside, but on the outside I had a smile. I hid it very well, you know. My heart wasn't pure, so my worship on Sundays it meant nothing because I was back to being worldly as soon as I stepped out of church. Everything around me was falling apart. I kept wondering why God wasn't answering me in my prayers. In Psalms 34 and 17, it clearly states that God hears the prayers of the righteous. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all troubles. God began to strip everything away from me. Money, people, my children, everything I had was going away. And I felt that calling, and I knew that calling, but I still did what I wanted to do for a while. Some of it was simply because I just didn't know. I got lost. I became lost. And the things in my life is what caused me. So you got sex, love, and tribulations all together in one. So my eyes began to open, and I realized I was creating soul ties with people who weren't even meant to be a part of my life. I started to fast and pray and ask God for a release. I began to get so desperate for God that anybody who stood in my way had an open door to leave. I was like, I closed myself off. Nothing else mattered to me anymore except my relationship with the Lord. At first, I did that the wrong way. I closed everybody out, thinking that that would help. And in reality, it does not help. I have a question for you guys. Is there a situation in your life that has made you desperate for God? If so, what is the situation? Something that I began to do is practice celibacy. Celibacy refers to a vow that a person takes to refrain from sexual activity and intercourse. Abstinence also. Abstinence is a voluntary choice to not have sexual intercourse or engage in sexual activity at all for any certain reason, anytime, day, night, middle of the day, none. This can include being abstinent until marriage, and that's what I chose. I chose to be abstinent until I'm married, and this has been working out for me so far. I didn't want to only seek God because of a desperation or a waiting for a husband that was never promised to me. I wanted more of Jesus. I wanted to know everything about him. I wanted the honeymoon stage, the Lord to last forever, and I wanted to learn to love him in the same way that he loved me, which is unconditionally. Would I be truly satisfied if I was called into a life of singleness? No. For me, no. Would I be able to be a part of fulfilling his mission for my life, even if he never did things my way? Good question. Was I as desperate for God like I was desperate for a man? That is the question that you guys should ask yourself. The same way you want a man so bad is the same way God wants you to want him. And I know it's hard sometimes. It is. So, like I said, was I desperate for God like I was desperate for a man? The love I was searching for was here all along. I just was running from it. I took a personal vow of abstinence. I did not decide to become abstinence so that God could send me a husband. I had another motive in mind. I wanted to be clean. I wanted to start over. I wanted to be loved the correct way. God began to show me what true love is. God began to show me who loves me and who doesn't. He also began to show me why this person is in your life. He would allow something to happen so that I can see the actions of that person and actually see it and not just see it, if you get what I'm saying. So I didn't have a hidden motive for God to grant me all of my desires. I was abstinent because I wanted to obey God. I told the Lord that even if I was called into a life of singleness, that I will honor Him with my heart, my mind, and my body. Sex outside of a marriage commitment left me empty and convicted, with a void no human on earth could fulfill at all. Imagine being in love with somebody so hard and every day they rip your heart out and they treat you bad and you deal with it every day because of love or what you thought was love. That's what I was stuck in. A cycle of being let down, being tormented, being cheated on, being abused physically and verbally and mentally. And I kept dealing with it every day because I thought that I was loved. I prayed, okay, he's going to change, he's going to change, I'm going to change, I'm going to change. And it didn't change at all. Knowing the things that were being done to me were not pleasing at all. Temporary pleasure will never lead to permanent satisfaction. I have a question of the day that I've written down. My question is, are you only obeying God in order to convince Him to move on your behalf? If God's will doesn't align with your desires, would you be okay with this truth? Would you be okay with knowing that you're doing that? You're only obeying God for Him to move in your life. Like you are simply, when we need something for God, we go to Him, but other than that, it's nothing. Choosing to be sexually active does bring a great cost to the individual and the relationship. We carry every sexual partner we ever had for the rest of our lives. Crazy, ain't it? But it's true. Do we really want to bring several or many or even just one other person into our marriage? For me, no. No way. No way. This will cost us baggage and it will cost us tension in the most important human relationship that we will have with our spouses, which is our marriage. This does not even consider the very real possibility of an unwanted pregnancy or sexual transmitted disease. It is 2023. Sexual transmitted diseases are stronger. There's HIV, there's AIDS, there's herpes. You don't want that. This doesn't even consider the very real possibility of having something that you can't get rid of in your body and in your spirit. God knows that it costs us something to be sexually active before marriage, and that cost is simply way too high for me. Question of the day. We all have things that we regret, right? If you've engaged in sex before marriage, what are some of your regrets and how did you overcome them? For me, my biggest regret was not waiting until I got I'm going to just start over. My biggest regret is not waiting, not getting to know the person, going on dates, having talks, asking questions. With the number one important thing, ask questions. You have to ask questions. This is deep. I thought I was ready to talk about it, but I'm gonna keep going because I'm not gonna stop and let the enemy win. If you have not engaged in sex before marriage, what boundaries have you set up in your personal life in order to remain pure? Boundaries. Well, comment down below some of your boundaries that you have set for people, whether you're male or female. Comment your boundaries. You have a special gift that you can give to only one person, and that'll be your spouse. It is very worth the wait. Please wait. Please get to know God more. Get God more involved. Pray more. God will show you the ins and outs, the do's and the don'ts. You will feel it. But you have to get in tune. You have to get in tune with God. You have to. Here's something else that I wrote down. You have a special gift that you can only give to one person. Your purity. Wouldn't you like to be able to give your most special person on that most special night the most special gift? I definitely would. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to share you something with you. If God cleans you and He gives you a chance to have your gift back, and you share that gift with someone is not supposed to be shared with, if you don't do it the right way and wait, that gift that He gave you, it won't be there anymore. And God might wait 10 more years before He gives it back to you. You know, even if you're not a virgin, God can still restore you and give you that gift back. You have an opportunity today to ask God to restore you. Ask for forgiveness. Ask God to create in you a clean heart and give you a right spirit, and He will. This is so important that we share these things with other girls that are going through the same thing, because soul ties is tormenting. It is girls going through this every day, all day, crying, keep getting hit on, beat on, talked to any kind of way, done any kind of way. I went through that, and it tore me down. My self-esteem was low. I don't wish that on anybody. I pray that women and men go through it too. I pray that you guys get the strength in your heart. God comes into your heart and shows you, okay, this ain't right. We gotta break these soul ties. It has to be broken, because your life is going to be tormented. Your life is going to be bad. Everywhere you go, everything you do, the person you tied to is there. The attributes of that person is tied to you. You're going to act like them. Their spirit going to be on you. You're going to talk like them. People going to be pushed away. People going to notice that and not want to be around you. You're always going to be angry. It's not good. It's not good to allow yourself to be that way. Nobody wants to be around misery. Nobody wants to be around toxic things. Can't do it. If you see somebody that's going through, help them get through. Don't judge them. Don't talk about them. Don't say you doing this, so you got to do this. No, you've been there before. I've been there before. Don't come in like a rush of you doing this, you doing that, you saying this, you saying that. No. Sometimes people going through and they don't know that they're doing that because they're so tied up in the soul. We're going to talk about this more. We have to. This is part one. Don't give up. Somebody's praying for you. I'm praying for you all. Always. There's not a moment that I'm not praying. That is something that was very strong in my life. Having a soul tie caused me to lose so much. Family, friends, myself. I didn't even know who I was myself until God stepped in and pulled me up and hugged me and said, it's okay. I know you're mad. I know you're angry. I know you don't know. But here, let me show you. Like a mother would to their child, like a father would to his son. Let me show you the right way to do this. But you got to be willing to accept that. You got to be willing to acknowledge, okay, I'm broken. I'm stuck. Soul ties will have you stuck. It's time to get unstuck. We got to talk about this. I'm going to do an open question survey when you guys can ask me anything pertaining to this. We can talk about this because it needs to be talked about, because that's the main thing that's going on in 2023 in the United States. Overseas, cross seas, here and there, it's going on everywhere. Definitely social media. And I'm going to be one of the ones to speak up for that.